Okay, so I want to welcome everybody. We've just started recording this class and we've come to the conclusion that we're not going to be doing Parsha Miketz today with the rest of the Donny Osmond singing the Technicolor Dreamcoat today. We'll postpone that for next week. We've before this recording started, we've had a lively discussion about hope and about the positivity of our situation and how we have to be in the army of Hashem, the Tzivos Hashem. We have to stand up and be counted among those who are strong. And we have to also be there for each other and support our soldiers and our government in this very difficult time. Let me just explain something. The reason for this kind of discussion came about because I'm receiving letters from organizations in America that just paint a picture of doom and gloom. There's no hope. There's terrible things going on. And even the candles of Chanukah, they say, will not illuminate the light because it is so dark. And I decided after receiving so many of these horrible letters from America, from these organizations that are supposed to be leading us and being a positive force in our lives, that I started answering them in by email and telling them how depressing and how horrible and how much there is to be grateful. And someone in our class today, Zamira, said, what did people in the concentration camps do? They saved threads of clothing and lit them in the concentration, the light to illuminate the darkness. They had hope. And if we don't have hope, and if we do not stand up to be counted in a positive way, not a negative, whining, unpleasant, doom and gloom kind of way, if we don't show the world from Israel the strength that we have, then we're lost. And I'm asking each and every one of you to write to your congressmen, your senators, to call the White House. It's a free call. Call the White House or whatever government you come from and tell them to support Israel and stop bashing Israel and to be there for Israel and to stop criticizing what we're doing. We're doing the dirty work for the whole world, because if we get rid of Hamas, if we get rid of Hezbollah, if we get rid of these terrorists, then this world will be a better place and we will have stood up to evil and overcome. So I'm begging you, I'm pleading with you to be positive to your children and grandchildren and great-grandchildren and say, this is what the Maccabees stood for. This is what we fought for. And when we lit that little Shemin Zayed in the ruined Beit Hamikdash, it was the light against the dark. We have modern day Antiochuses that we're fighting today, and they're worse than even back then. And we have to be more enlightened, more uplifting, and more positive than anyone else. It seems that we cannot look to America for hope. America and the world has to look to Israel for hope. And this is what's happening in our world today. And we have to be the leaders of the Jewish nation. So, in the merit of our wonderful soldiers who, before we went on to record this, we prayed for the soldiers, we prayed for the hostages, and we ask you to continue your prayers for all of Bnei Yisrael, Klal Yisrael, and for the strength of Eretz Yisrael. And today's today's short lesson on the hope of Chanukah is being sponsored by myself in memory of my father, Meir Leib Ben Ruvain, a true Southern gentleman who stood up during World War II when he was a soldier, and he stood up to make sure that Israel had Israel bonds and parlor meetings in Norfolk, Virginia. and he was always there to be counted on in the Jewish community in Virginia. And so I ask all of you, in the merit of all of your families who went before you, who stood up to everything that was wrong and made it better, that's what we need to do this Hanukkah. And we have to show the world that in the darkest times, in December, when it's darkest and there's very little light during the day, that we make it light. We turn on the lights and we make it a positive experience. So we had a very, very special interchange just now, and we decided we're going to take a look today at a film, a small film about called The Third Miracle, and it's by Rabbi Lord Sachs, Jonathan Sachs, Zetzal, and we mourned his loss because he was such a positive light among Christians. And I think that what he has to say today is as relevant as it was when he spoke these words. So I'm going to show a small film, and then we can have a discussion about this. Okay, so hold on. We're going to do that in 1 second. I'm going to okay. Let's see here.
We all know the miracles of Chanukah, the military victory of the Maccabees against the Greeks, and the miracle of the wall that should have lasted 1 day but instead burned for 8. But there was a third miracle not many people know about, and it took place several centuries later. After the destruction of the Second Temple, many rabbis were convinced that Chanukah should be abolished. After all, it celebrated the rededication of the temple, and the temple now was no more. It had been destroyed by the Romans under Titus. Without a temple, what was there to celebrate? The Talmud tells us that in at least one town, Lud, Chanukah was actually abolished. Yet eventually the other view prevailed, which is why we celebrate Chanukah to this day. Why? Because though the temple was destroyed, Jewish hope was not destroyed. We may have lost the building, but we still had the story and the memory and the light. And what had happened once in the days of the Maccabees could happen again. And it was those words, Od lo avda tikvatenu, our hope is not destroyed, that became part of the song Hatikva that inspired Jews to return to Israel and to Jerusalem and rebuild their ancient state. So as you light the Hanukkah candles, remember this. The Jewish people kept hope alive, and hope kept the Jewish people alive. We are the voice of hope in the conversation of humankind. Happy Hanukkah. Hanukkah Sameach.
Wow. So I think that that's a very, very powerful message. We are the hope in the conversation of humankind. And when we think about that and think about the responsibility we have, it's quite a powerful message. Because if we are not a positive message, we the people who are supposed to be the light unto the nations, if we can't do that, then who can?
Who will? Yeah.
So during your last couple days of this particular Hanukkah, make sure you relate the message of what we're supposed to do to your children, grandchildren, great-grandchildren. Let them know that it's not just the Hanukkah gel, it's not just the dreidels, it's not just the latkes and the sufganiyot. It's so much more. And we have to put the story in perspective to our families so that they understand and they can appreciate that we, the Israel nation, the people of Yaakov, of Abraham and Yitzhak, we have a covenant that we signed with God that we will be the light unto the nation, and we can't let ourselves destroy that light. We cannot let the Jewish people harm the message that we have in the world today. And it's not easy, and it's not going to be simple, but no matter who you are, where you live, you have to stand up and be counted. It's scary out there these days. It's not so easy, but we will prevail. We always have. Antiochus is no longer here. The Greek Empire is no longer here.
Right.
The Roman Empire is not here. The Babylonians are no longer here. Nazi Germany, we still stand up and say we are to be counted. Hitler was wrong, and we can do it now. Hamas is wrong. Fatah is wrong, and we cannot succumb to the rallies on American campuses and on British campuses and on Australian campuses. We cannot allow these horrible people who really are ignorant of facts. We cannot allow these bullies to bully us. We have to be strong, and each and every one of us must be the representative of the Jewish nation. All of us can do it. We can all do it. In fact, you can probably do it more than I can because I have such little patience with these people. You are patient and kind and good and loving and warm. That in itself is the rallying call against these horrible people who know nothing of what godliness is like. You see, when those people stand and yell intifada and genocide, they don't even know what river and what sea they're talking about. When you ask them the size of Israel, it's as big as Russia. It's as big as China.
It's like this big.
Yeah.
Mine.
These are ignorant people. They are, as one commentator said, unnecessary morons. So the truth of the matter is they're out there, they're vocal, but they don't know what godliness is. They've taken godliness, truth, love, understanding, kindness out of their lives, and they've put in as a substitute harassment, hate, bitterness, and things they don't even know the concepts of what they're talking about. So we have to be the educators. We are the people of the book. We have to show them this is not the way to live. And I'll tell you, my friends, there are some very special people out there. And so I ask you to stand up and be counted amongst all of our supporters and against those who are negative.
It's so much
I
easier,
think
I
that we
think,
are already, I think
from
we are
Israel.
already the supporters, and I think we are already, as Israelis, are there. I think the rest of the world, I don't want to say what I think about the rest of the world, but I think that
You can.
God has taught us we're not supposed to be the light unto the nations. We are the light unto the nations. And there's a difference when you have a belief of supposed to be, that you have to reach and accomplish something. We don't need to do that. We've already been there and we already are there. And we have to stand up and just show that we are proud Jews and we, in fact, have done the right thing. The rest of the world is screwy and they are really stupid and not knowledgeable
They're
whatsoever.
very ignorant.
I
You're
agree.
right.
I agree that we must teach the world what has happened and why we're doing this. But in fact, most of us should really just ignore the world and do what we need to do. That's what God has taught us, to do what the Torah teaches us and to stand up for who we are and what we are.
Right.
But
So
sometimes we have to teach the other Jews, the Jews in Chutz La'aretz, because a lot of them never learned this stuff. They don't even know about the Holocaust, a lot of them, unfortunately.
So, since we're on this theme of positivity, I want to share something else with you. I think you'll be very surprised who this is talking. But when I saw this, after I was listening to so many unpleasant, dark, and gloomy Jewish organizational letters that I'm receiving, I go online, I search the internet like crazy. And of course, I'm a big fan of CBN, Christian Broadcasting Network, and their Dateline Jerusalem program. So I'm going to share this with you. And I think you'll see that we do have friends out there, and we have to be uplifted by those who are uplifting to us. So let's take a look at this. I hadn't planned on showing this, but I'm going to. Okay, you ready?
Mhm.
Okay, let's take a look at this.
It's a celebration of how the Jewish people overcame a wicked ruler and experienced a miracle of light more than 2,000 years ago.
Hanukkah, also known as the Festival of Lights, commemorates the rededication of the Second Temple in Jerusalem by Judah and the Maccabees.
We're standing opposite the Western Wall, the Temple Mount. This is where the Second Temple stood. And at that time period, the Jewish people were living here as a Jewish people with a Jewish temple, and the Greek Empire was taking over the whole entire world, and they decided to impose their Hellenistic views onto the residents of Israel, saying, you must live in this Hellenistic lifestyle.
The Greeks banned Jewish practices, and their ruler, Antiochus Epiphanes, desecrated the temple. The outnumbered Maccabees rebelled and defeated the rulers of the known world. The miracle of Hanukkah came when the Maccabees went to rededicate the temple. While only one day's consecrated oil remained, it miraculously lasted for 8.
It was a time of darkness. We were surrounded by much larger armies and enemies, but we stood up for what was right, for those values that this Temple Mount represents. And eventually, we won. And the story of our victory is the story that we're back here, that the story of the Jewish people is still going on.
Here at the Western Wall is one of the major public lightings of the Hanukkah. Hanukkah is celebrated like it is every year in Jerusalem, but this year is different, with the memories of the horrors of October 7th and the anguish of the many hostages still remaining in captivity in the Gaza Strip. All 138 hostages still in Hamas's hands had a candle lit for them.
We feel, especially in America right now, very uncertain of our safety and our future. So it's obviously much more heartfelt than I think I've ever had in Hanukkahs in my life.
This Hanukkah is more special because I feel like we're reliving what happened thousands of years ago with the anti-Semitism in the world, with what happened here in October, and I feel that it has to unite the Jewish people.
The bottom line is that we say Al Hanisim, on the miracles that we see then and we see now. These miracles will continue to happen because this is why. That's what Hanukkah is all about. Remember, Hanukkah comes at the time that's the darkest time of the year. So at the darkest time of the year, we bring light.
Here in Jerusalem's Old City, the Hanukkah are lit outside the building. Here you can see a Hanukkah for each family in this building. They're lit outside and meant to be lit outside for 2 reasons: to publicize the miracle and dispel the darkness. As Jews worldwide begin the Hanukkah holiday, a sign of international support, German Chancellor Olaf Scholz lit the first candle of a public menorah at the Brandenburg Gate, the first time a German leader has taken part in the ceremony.
I wish that the candle of Hanukkah will shine far beyond this square and much longer than just for the 8 days of Hanukkah. Hanukkah stands for hope and confidence. Both are especially needed these days.
This year's Hanukkah is obviously extra special because we find ourselves in a time period here in Israel, but really all across the world, where people are fighting the Jewish light. They're hating Jews without even knowing the facts. They're hating Jews because they're Jews. And that's what we're standing up to fight against.
This year, many Jews light the candles for the ones they call the modern-day Maccabees on the front lines in Gaza, and for those in darkness who can't light their own. Chris Mitchell, CBN News, the Western Wall, Jerusalem.
Great to see people standing with Israel during Hanukkah, and also to see the German chancellor there lighting the public menorah, Gordon.
Well, it's historic, and there's a reason it's historic. It's for such a time as this. We've all been called to stand with Israel exactly at this moment in time. My wife, Catherine, and I, we celebrated Hanukkah last night. We lit the 2 candles. We prayed the 3 blessings. The 3rd blessing is so significant. We thank you for preserving us and keeping us for this season. And we gave thanks last night for God keeping Israel. For sustaining Israel in this time. We want to stand with Israel. We want to rededicate ourselves in this Hanukkah with standing with Israel. That we want to do this because it's the right thing. Let us pray that God keeps Israel and preserves it so that the celebrations can continue, that the worship of Him can continue. Part of our celebration last night was reading the Psalms that are traditionally sung during Hanukkah, the first day of Hanukkah. And this is Psalm 30, and it's just so key for this moment in time. I will extol you, O Lord, for you have lifted me up and have not let my foes rejoice over me. O Lord my God, I cried out to you, and you healed me. O Lord, you brought my soul up from the grave. You have kept me alive, that I should not go down to the pit. Sing praise to the Lord, you saints of His, and give thanks at the remembrance of His holy name. For His anger is but for a moment, His favor is for life. Weeping may endure for a night, but joy comes in the morning. Now in my prosperity I said, I shall never be moved. Lord, by your favor you have made my mountain stand strong. You hid your face, and I was troubled. I cried out to you, O Lord, and to the Lord I made my supplication. What profit is there in my blood when I go down to the pit? Will the dust praise you? Will it declare your truth? Hear, O Lord, and have mercy on me. Lord, be my helper. You have turned for me my mourning into dancing. You have put off my sackcloth and clothed me with gladness, to the end that my glory may sing praise to you and not be silent. O Lord my God, I will give thanks to you forever. May Israel give thanks to the Lord their God.
Beautiful song.
And may we join with that. This Hanukkah, we invite you to stand in solidarity with the Jewish people. You can show your...
Okay. Nice to see we've got some friends out there.
No, that was excellent.
Wasn't that
We can
good?
even- I'm going to add that to the Tehillim that you've already sent out that I say every day. I'm going to add.
Third is
it's
good.
so good.
Isn't there irony in the fact that Germany is standing so close?
Well, they still feel bad about the Holocaust.
I don't
Well,
think
I don't know.
I don't
wanna
think
make-
they,
When
I
it
just
comes down to it, they'll forget all that.
right.
No, I think, and Italy.
Better
Rhonda,
late than never, right?
Yes.
Yeah, they're
Yeah.
both staying
Rhonda?
strong for us.
Yes. Rose.
I don't know if you've seen the clip of Dr. Phil, but Dr. Phil is our spokesman that we should be support. I don't know.
I used to watch him
Yeah.
every
But he spoke so magnificently
Yeah.
about what's happening, what we should be doing, how
What-
the people that are protesting shouldn't be listened to. I mean, it's an outstanding piece. I can send it to you.
I didn't know that he was so pro-Israel. What was it about?
I missed what you said.
What was the clip of Dr. Phil about? Anti-Semitism?
Probably.
Support for Israel, support for, it's just support. And yes, he did speak about anti-Semitism.
It was a brilliant presentation.
Thank
Yeah.
you.
I
If
didn't know
anyone,
he was so pro-Israel.
I didn't know that either.
You have to understand that there are a lot of people who are actually coming out for and supporting
For
Israel.
us, yeah. Mhm.
You want to know something? And they're not even Jewish.
No, that's the thing. They're not Jewish.
Right.
Exactly. And that's amazing. My son has a friend who is not Jewish. I don't know what he is. He's so upset, and he doesn't live here. He's so upset about Israel that he's coming to serve in Sarel. He's coming in 2 weeks to serve Sarel. His name is Anthony.
God bless him. God bless him.
It's a beautiful thing.
Mm-hmm.
I know when my husband and I did Sarel, there were, and this was before October 7th, we met people from different countries and also that weren't Jewish. And it was amazing to me, I have to tell you.
Yeah.
It really was. And can I just say something, because Mira brought up the Holocaust and everything?
Sure.
You know how Jews loved Franklin Delano Roosevelt?
Oh, yeah, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
His
Yeah,
grave.
why?
Yeah.
People went to see him and
I know.
asked him to bomb the railways.
And
that
he
were
wouldn't
leading-
do it. He wouldn't do
Right.
it.
You know what he said? He said, it's not a Jewish war.
Is that what he said?
So many Jews
Ugh.
loved him, voted for him. It's
Right.
unbelievable. I shouldn't have said it. It's depressing. I'm sorry. We were on an up
No.
Okay, so
we were in an up mood.
I have a short clip here that maybe this is what you were referring to, Rose. Let's.
I've just sent it to you.
So let's see if
Dr. Phil.
here's wait. Let's see whether we can hold on. Let's see what we can do here with Dr. Phil.
The bloodiest day in the country's 75-year history, an estimated 1,300 were killed, over 3,300 wounded, and approximately 150 Israelis were taken hostage. Kars Ray, a fellow with the Jewish Leadership Project, stated, "This is the greatest loss of Jewish life in a single day since the Holocaust." The Hamas invaders were not soldiers, they were assassins. The Hamas charter calls for the ultimate annihilation of all Israeli Jews, followed by the annihilation of Jews around the world. Sound familiar?
Oh, nice.
Sadly, some people, including some right here in America, actually celebrated the slaughter and blamed those being murdered, raped, and kidnapped. Many of America's most respected elite universities are not only indulging, but actually endorsing sanctioned student organizations holding celebrations for the murders. Harvard, Yale, Georgetown, UCLA, and Stanford are high-profile examples that should raise concern, if not outrage. These student organizations' reactions to the Hamas attack revealed a disturbing degree of ivy-covered intellectual rot. Americans nationwide have been appalled and shocked. The leadership of these supposedly highly sophisticated schools are so busy virtue signaling and coddling students who think that words are violence, but violence, horrific, inhumane violence, is social justice, that they have forgotten it is their job to teach their students to think and to test reality. Instead of training tomorrow's leaders, they are profoundly demagnetizing our culture's moral compass among the college population. Senator Cory Booker commented recently that there was a time we took pride in calling out bad behavior and bad actors, calling evil evil and hatred hatred. Martin Luther King Jr. said we suffer not just from the vitriol and violence of our enemies, but from the appalling silence and inaction of the good people. I'm no expert in geopolitics, but I don't need to be to immediately denounce the actions of Hamas as utterly sick, twisted, disgusting, and inexcusable. Staying fully in my lane of analyzing human behavior, I will amplify some things I know for sure. I know for sure the atrocities and ensuing celebrations committed by Hamas are inexcusable and unjustifiable. These are not the acts of honorable soldiers, freedom fighters, or militants. From a psychological standpoint, I can't help but wonder what these assassins say to themselves alone in the middle of the night after murdering a terrified and defenseless little baby boy or girl. Have they bothered to think about how many of their own children they have destined to be sacrificed in the retaliation that is certain to follow? Retaliation Hamas have brought down on the Gazans, Palestinians. I know for sure that allowing the university-sanctioned organizations to celebrate the sadistic acts of terror without consequence confirms these enlightened woke universities are failing miserably in shaping, educating, maturing the minds of those students. It is the educator's job to teach critical thinking that will lead to rational response, a skill set in short supply in today's world. Perhaps such training on how to think would have led these students and their organizations to realize they are not actually supporting Palestinians and Gazans when they are supporting Hamas. Hamas are not even Palestinians. You cannot negotiate with people whose only acceptable outcome is to murder you and your entire race. Seriously, have some of these people gotten together and collectively lost their minds? We know right from wrong, and we must stand up for what we believe and know is right. We must call out these institutions. How is any of this acceptable to anyone? How is it not recognized as incredibly racist? How do elite educators not recognize this is a huge teachable moment in these students' journey? The heads of these schools need to simply say, on this campus, we don't celebrate racism, anti-Semitism, baby killing, and murdering. What they are doing instead is distancing themselves in hopes it blows over. Israel is our friend and ally. They don't need us to just be their friend in good times. They need us to be their friend in bad times, to be their friend when it is easier not to be. Good friends are the ones coming in the door when everyone else is going out. This is a really great time to show Israel and the world who we are.
Wasn't he amazing?
He's incredible.
The best part about him is the people listen to him.
Yeah.
Can you hear me?
Yeah.
I must tell y'all something I heard this week. They were interviewing.
We can't hear you.
Can't hear
Deb.
her.
Start again.
I want to tell you about something I heard this week. They were interviewing a woman in Gaza, and they asked her, "Why do you have so many children?" And she said, "So they can be martyrs for Allah."
Terrific. That's Arab mentality.
That's their mentality.
All right,
It's
let's-
opposite of the Jewish one.
Okay, can I just say something? I just want to reinforce what Rhonda had to say. I think it is not a time to be silent. I think it is a time to speak out. I think that's what all these leaders are saying. And every phone call matters. Every email, every petition you sign. I think it's really important that we take action. And I thank all of you. I thank especially Rhonda for really instructing us to take action to benefit Israel and to defend our soldiers.
Thank
and
you.
bring our
Thank you,
freedoms
Laura.
home.
Thank you. Okay, ladies, this class did not go the way I had originally planned, but it certainly ended up in a very positive note, and I'm happy about that. And I'm glad that all of you have participated and really shared. If anyone has anything else to say, I'm happy to hear it. it's not, class is not dismissed yet, so if you want to still say a few
Can I
words.
go to the bathroom?
Yeah. So ladies, you know, I send my love to all of you on this very beautiful Hanukkah, where we should have hope and light and joy and nachas from our families, and prayers for our families that they remain safe, that all our chayalim and chayalot will manage to be safe and protected and come home to all of us whole. And so I thank you all for sharing and letting me share these different things with you today. And may we celebrate this next year and talk about how wonderful things are next year in Mirz Hashem. And so have hope, have faith, have good latkes, have good sufganiyot, and enjoy and breathe. Everyone breathe and give that breath to someone else. Tell them this is life. This is our life. Be well, my friends. Take good care, my lovely, lovely ladies. And we will see you in Mirz Hashem next week. Have a Shabbat Shalom, and the rest of Hanukkah should be joy. Well,
What is Cynthia doing? What is this, Cynthia?
Thank you.
You trying to get her attention or what?
My good thoughts.
Yeah.
Thumbs up. Shalom, everybody.
There's Chewy.
Bye.
Bye, everybody.
Bye-bye. Chag Sameach.
Chag Sameach and
Thank you.
Shabbat Shalom.
Take care.
Sameach and thank you.
Shabbat Shalom. See you next week, everybody.